everybody. Welcome to Why Eagles, Why, our weekly look at the Eagles. And boy, they came off a big effort Monday night against the Minnesota Vikings. Dave Bontempo, Pete Amato, Bill Gelman with you, and special guest, Keiana Williams, one of our favorite upcoming Eagles.com writers. Before we get started, please remember to hit like and subscribe to be notified about future videos. As you know, we break this up into 4 quarters, and the first quarter is going to be about the Monday night game. All right, first quarter, Eagles destroying the Minnesota Vikings on national television, 24-7. I thought it was a virtuoso performance for Jalen Hurts, especially in that first half. I'll go with the pass to Quez Watkins as the one that opened up my eyes. Key, I know you've been a big Jalen Hurts supporter all along. What did that look like to you on Monday night?
It looked like a coming out party for a franchise quarterback on a national stage. My goodness, 26 for 31, 333 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns, completely accurate, nonstop, making throws from in the pocket, literally reading the Vikings defense and taking everything over the middle that was given to him. It was just a seasoned quarterback performance. That's what I saw.
I was amazed, too, at how they toyed with a defense that held Aaron Rodgers to 7 points. So that's going through my mind, too, as I'm going there watching that on Monday night. And, of course, Jalen Hurts backers, of course, he paid a little bit more than plus 105 for any time. And, you might have to look at him to score first. Now, Pete, what did you think of the second half of that game, which was a big defensive effort as much as the first half was offense? There was a statement made in the second half of that game.
Yeah, I've been one of Jonathan Gannon's biggest critics. I'm still not 100% sold on him, but I got to give him his credit. I'm not worried about the blitzes, the number of blitzes. I'm just worried about him letting our superstars play their game. Let them man up, let Darius Slay and Bradbury just do what they do best. Put them on a man and let them play up on him. And he did that. And you saw what happened. Darius Slay had a monster game, and he overshadowed. Actually, Bradbury had a really good game too. Thielen did nothing all game. So I'm glad to see Jonathan Gannon letting his defensive superstars kind of let their talent shine. And I think he needs to keep his foot on the pedal because we have an aggressive defense, and he needs to keep that style going.
I did like that interception prop for Kirk Cousins. I talked about it in Nichols.com. Mm-hmm. I certainly played it. So I was happy to see that. Bill, Jonathan Gannon has been a topic of this show quite a bit. And you've got a Gelman's gold here.
Yeah. Before I jump on that, I just want to say kudos. We rip Jonathan Gannon nonstop. And it's, when he deserves the credit, I'm going to give him the credit. But what I found interesting is I read through the Eagles notes every week, and Darius Big Play Slay had a huge game with 2 interceptions, 5 pass deflections. He played a major role there. But he's only the 3rd player in Eagles recent history to do that. To have 2 interceptions, 5 pass deflections in the same game. The others are Lito Shepherd and Troy Vincent.
All right. Good Gelman's gold, as Darius Big Play Slay has been a real find for them. And it does sort of make you wonder what is possible with that Eagles defense. Pete, I'll throw one more back to you before we wrap up the segment. I kept seeing the graphic underneath. Eagles, 3rd lowest team blitzing in the last couple of years. But we did see a certain type of aggression. In fact, each of you take this if you'd like. Did you notice a particular type and a style of aggression on Monday night in that game?
It was more of, it wasn't like just blitzing, just the blitz. I mean, I got to give him Jonathan Gannon credit. Again, his timely blitzing was on point. He seemed to know kind of what the offense was going to do before they did it. And he wasn't doing crazy all out blitzes. He was just very intelligent blitzes. He was very timely. And then anytime you can make Kirk Cousins kind of think a little more and get in his head a little bit, you're going to see him make mistakes. And that's what he did. Just so I think it was the blitzes were very timely. They weren't overpowering. They weren't overdone. They were just very timely, and it worked out.
Bill, anything you want to add on that before we wrap it up in this segment?
To me, it just looked like the Eagles defense was reading every play. They knew where the ball was going to. They took Justin Jefferson pretty much out of the equation. I know we hyped him up a lot last week. So it just seemed like the team was well prepared. And anytime the Vikings looked like they were going to threat, the Eagles defense shut them down.
All right. Excellent performance by the Birds. They're 2-0. And in our second quarter, we'll look ahead to week 3. Second quarter of Why Eagles Why. Carson Wentz is a big subject in this area for this game for a lot of reasons. And before we go deeper into that, Key, what do you think about the way he has performed so far in Washington's 1-1 start?
I would say, given that you have an O-line that's had injuries and weak at certain positions, he's actually played pretty well overall. They are 7th in yards per game and 8th in points scored as an offense. And Carson is, I believe, 1st in touchdowns and 2nd in passing yards. So he has a great start to the season. But when that O-line has been pressured against Detroit and Jacksonville, that is when a couple of inopportune turnovers have come out. So he can get into that rattle mindset and give it away to the other team. So that's still something that's there.
And before I throw this over to Pete and to Bill, in week 1, Key, he threw that the game-winning pass against the Jacksonville Jaguars when they were in position to maybe just go for a field goal. And he showed something for Riverboat Ron Rivera that maybe he'll be a little bit more of a gambler this year. That was really a big first statement for him in week 1.
I think gambling is who Carson Wentz is. And you did see that against Detroit, where he did try to attempt some passes downfield, attempt some passes. But unfortunately, when Carson does do that, he tends to hold onto the ball a bit long, which is what led to the Lions' safety in that game. So it's going to be a lot of boom and a lot of bust with Carson, I feel, in Washington.
Okay, Pete and Bill, we followed this story the last couple of years when Carson Wentz was in Philadelphia. The debate over Jalen Hurts. Now he's on his 3rd team in 3 years. Bill, I'll go to you first for your assessment of this. What do you think of where Carson Wentz is now? Then what does he have left? Is it good that he's there? What's your overall feeling on Carson Wentz?
Okay. Well, I want to start by going back to the 2016 season when Carson Wentz was the quarterback of the Eagles. That happens to be the last time the Eagles started the season 2-0, like they are now. Eagles finished that season 7-9. But I'm not changing my opinion. I think Carson Wentz isn't the same quarterback as he was before he tore his ACL. Granted, he's putting up some strong numbers this year against, granted, they came against the Lions and the Jaguars, but he's showing signs that he can lead a team again. Indianapolis, obviously, Carson Wentz left Indy, and they're looking pretty bad this year. So maybe it wasn't Carson Wentz in Indy, but you have the sub-story now. Did the Eagles make the right decision of going with Jalen Hurts as opposed to and drafting Jalen Hurts as opposed to going with Carson Wentz? And, so far, in my mind, it's looking like that Jalen Hurts is a much better solution than Carson. Carson just didn't have in Philadelphia. I think he has a strong start, but I don't think it's going to last all season. I think Carson's best years are behind him. Might have a better year this year, but I don't think he's an answer at quarterback. I think this was the right route for the Eagles to go, and we shall see if I'm right or wrong.
And the ACL injury you bring up is a big one because it's hard to come back from that. And who knows if we'd see him in Washington had Indy won that last game against Jacksonville, they would have reached the playoffs. Pete, your assessment of Carson Wentz, where he is, and was it a good move that they got rid of Carson Wentz and set up the Jalen Hurts era?
I think with everything that happened, it was a move that had to be done. Once they drafted Jalen Hurts and once Carson Wentz had that down year and all the drama after that, it was a move that had to be done. It's not a move that I really want to see done as a Carson Wentz fan. I think it's worked out for both of them since, for the Eagles and for Carson Wentz. If you look back, Carson Wentz really only had one bad season, and it was with the Eagles in 2020 after his injury. Even with Indianapolis last year, he had a pretty good season. He kind of blew it in the last game of the season, but the whole season he had a pretty good season. Now the Colts look like a lost team anyway. And Carson, if he can keep his mindset right, I think he will be a successful quarterback in the NFL. He has to stop trying to be the superhero all the time and trying to stretch out these plays. And I think that'll come with experience and progression in the NFL. He's still a younger quarterback, but he's a veteran quarterback now. So I think as he gets this experience, I think he'll start to become a smarter quarterback. He has the intangibles. He has a great arm, and he can move in the pocket. He's a smart quarterback. He just needs to put it all together and kind of be a little more safer at times. And I think he is going to do that. I think he's going to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. I've always thought that for him. But in the end, I think it was the best move for both sides. Carson Wentz needed a change of scenery, and the Eagles needed something new with Jalen Hurts.
And to one of Key's points, he has been holding on to the ball too long in the last couple of years. Now, to wrap up this segment, a question for each of you. Carson Wentz says, this is just another ball game. Is it? Around the horn. Pete, you go first.
No, he's saying that. Any professional is going to say that. I think he wants it to be just another ball game. No, it's not. It's the first time he's in Philly. I mean, he was made one of the main reasons that the Eagles won their first and only Super Bowl. I mean, he was one of the main reasons. So this is a big deal for him. I mean, he's going to get booed relentlessly, but I still think we have to appreciate what he did for us when he was here. And they might not show that when he's on the field, but I think the fans do know that. So, and it is a big deal for him, whether he says it or not.
Bill, is this just another game?
No, and it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback, because in reality, Eagles and Washington games are always ugly. It's for the NFC East. And even though on paper, it might look like the Eagles are going to dominate because they're, as of yesterday, they were a 6.5-point favorite on the road. I still get nervous every time the Eagles and Washington play each other, even if you have the side story of the Carson Wentz versus Jalen Hurts going head-to-head for the first time.
Key, is it just another game?
Absolutely not. It's never just a game in the NFC East in general, like Bill said, but this is Carson versus Jalen, and that's what the media is going to make this all about every week. And whoever wins this game, you're going to hear about how that team made the right choice and the other team didn't, and it's going to be a narrative until these two teams play again. Carson's a smart guy. He knows what's going on. He knows what's being said. He knows Jalen Hurts is playing well and is 2-0, and he wouldn't want Jalen to come into Washington and beat him, because then that would make the Eagles' decision look justified. So it's going to be a big game, and Jalen doesn't want to lose to the guy he replaced. So it's going to be a very big one. Probably one of the most important games in like the next 4 weeks, I would say.
And I think Carson Wentz has always been a class act, even now. So when we come back, we'll take a further look at the Eagles and the NFL in the third quarter. Third quarter of Why Eagles, Why NFC East. All four teams in action this weekend. The Cowboys saving their season, beating the Cincinnati Bengals when 89% of the bettors thought they were not even going to cover the spread of 8.5 points at home. So it's a new ball game. Pete, we'll go to you. The Cowboys 1-1 now. Eagles atop the division at 2-0. What do you think of this division overall? What do you think of the Cowboys?
I'm not worried about the Cowboys. To be honest, I don't see a complete team. I see they're still in disarray. Jerry Jones has done what Jerry Jones does best and just kind of focuses on one position, and the rest of the team kind of crumbles slowly. And I think that's what the Cowboys are. If they're not this high-powered offense, they're really nothing. They have too many injuries. I think the Bengals kind of beat themselves these last 2 weeks. That team just like stuck in the mud. So I wasn't really worried about them even after the win over the Bengals. To be honest, I'm more worried about probably the Redskins and the Giants more than the Cowboys.
Commanders, Pete, Commanders.
Oh yeah, sorry, Commanders. I still say that. Okay. The Washington Commanders. I'm more worried about the Commanders and the Giants more than the Cowboys. I just don't see them being a threat. I'm sorry, Cooper Rush doesn't scare me much. Zeke is washed. Too many injuries. I mean, I hate the Cowboys anyway, so that's a good thing.
Well, at least they made things more interesting by winning in week 2. Bill, what is your overview of this division?
My overview is it's the Eagles' division to lose because I just don't see any of the other teams on the same level as the Eagles. We're going to find out a lot this week. The Eagles can keep that momentum going against Washington, in Washington, where you have the sub stories that we already touched on. And then you have the Monday night saga between the Giants and the Cowboys. I mean, the Giants, I don't believe, scored any touchdowns last week. Are they for real at 2-0? Cowboys, like we said, surprised a lot of us last week against the Bengals. But again, I don't think the Cowboys have it anymore. They're just not the same team. They're always going to get the attention because they are the Dallas Cowboys. But I think they're not winning this year. They might not even make the playoffs.
Well, that takes us to Monday night. The Giants just a 1 TD last week and the week before, Key, against Tennessee. People thought they were crazy. They scored the game-tying touchdown with a minute to go, and now they're going to kick the extra point. But they go for 2, and they go for the win, and they get it. Is there a new climate with the New York Giants this year?
I do think that Brian DeBoer is a good coach and does have them playing tougher, but I also do think that people where the Giants are improved do need to slow down a bit. If you look at this Giants team and really dissect them, there are definitely a lot of flaws. They're 2-0, and I can't fault them for who they play, but I always judge teams by the way they win. They're only averaging 20 points per game through 2 games, and they're one of the worst passing offenses in the league, which tells me that way of winning is not sustainable. You look at the games, they won because Tennessee missed a game-winning field goal. And then against the Panthers, they won because Baker Mayfield couldn't literally hit any pass. So it's more so, I feel like, other teams not doing enough, but them not looking dominant on any side of the ball to me. So this feels like last year's Panthers, where they started off good and then they're going to start losing games maybe in a couple weeks or so.
Oh, remember in New York, Sam Darnold, how could we let him go when he started so well in Carolina? And then after 6 games and after the Eagles beat him, how we told you he was no good. So that's the that's the overview. Hey, but that's an exciting primetime matchup. You know, guys, they used to call this the NFC Least because of the records of the teams. But we've got intrigue overall because we've got a weekend coming up that is going to determine some leadership. I mean, Pete, we've got there's going to be some statement made at the top somewhere after these 2 games play out.
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully the Eagles can kind of separate themselves from the pack. I agree with Key. I think the Giants, people have to slow their roll with them a little bit. I think they're going to win that game. I think they're going to go 3-0. And New York fans will overreact, which is fine. We tend to overreact here too, but yeah, I think the Giants. I mean, the Eagles will separate themselves from the pack. Maybe not in a literal sense, because I think the Giants are also going to go 3-0. But I think we're going to see how dominant the Eagles are, especially last week, how dominant their win was, and how dominant their offense has been in the first game. And I think you'll see on the field who kind of runs this division, and I think it'll be pretty obvious.
Hey, Bill, what about the New York hype? How many extra people are the tabloids going to bring on to hype the story if the Giants are 3-0 and the Eagles are 3-0? They're going to have holidays up in New York if they're 3-0.
Yes, they are. Monday's a national day off in New York that was just added this year. Well, actually, it's New Jersey. I keep, they use the New York name, but it's actually North Jersey. So there might be a lot of traffic heading up to the Meadowlands on Monday morning with the Cowboys coming to town.
All right, Key, final comment is yours in this segment. Giants and Cowboys, the line is very tight. If you had to squirm and make a midweek prediction several days out, what do you think there Monday night?
I think if I'm going with my gut, I think that even though Dallas is starting Cooper Rush, I love Micah Parsons and that matchup against that Giants O-line. And I think that the Cowboys defense could be the reason, not Cooper Rush, that they win. I don't want Dallas to win, but because I think the Giants are more fool's gold anyway. But I really like Dallas's defense in this matchup.
Well, Dallas did hold Tom Brady and Joe Burrow in back-to-back weeks under 20 points. So that's a very big statement to be made. And we come back, we'll take another look around the league in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter of Why Eagles Why. We're going to term this one, I can't wait. I cannot wait to see the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills after what I saw Tua Tagovailoa do last week. 4 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter, bombs to Tyreek Hill, bombs to Jalen Waddle, and phenomenal concentration. 6 touchdown passes. They were down 35-14, and they beat a very good team in the Ravens in the waning moments. So I cannot wait to see Tua 2 versus the best team in the league right now, Bill, the Buffalo Bills. This is a great matchup.
Yes, I cannot wait to see the Bills-Dolphins game as well. One, you have the Buffalo Bills, who look like the clear-cut favorite out of the gates to win the AFC this year. Josh Allen just put on an absolute show on Monday night. A little before he got it going, a little before Jalen Hurts got his show going. And, you know, I have a special interest in Tyreek Hill because he's on my fantasy football team. So anytime he catches touchdowns from Tua, I'm a very happy camper. But you get to see, you have a Dolphins team that's a up and coming team. And then you have a Buffalo Bills team that's they have the Bills Mafia going strong. I was watching the pregame show on Monday night. You know, there was some crazy fan just standing in the middle of the parking lot, and he was a target practice. They were firing ketchup and mustard all over his face and his shirt.
Jeez.
I thought that stuff only happens in Philadelphia.
It goes around the league. I'll tell you, if the over was a slot machine, and you were an over player and you put it in there for that game last week, both of those teams that are going to play Monday, you just see money spilling out all over the place, and it would be Gelman's gold coming right out of the machine. They had 10 touchdown passes between them last week. Yeah, I cannot wait to see that one, Bill. And we'll be texting during that one. Now, Key, there's a very exciting team coming out with the Detroit Lions. They've hit the over twice. They've covered twice, and they may not be under the radar very much longer. What do you think this week?
35 points per game by the Detroit Lions so far, which is pretty unbelievable. Jared Goff is actually playing decent. They have those great running backs and Swift. They have the great running backs in Swift and Williams. They have Brown. I am really excited about Vikings Lions because this is a Lions chance to show everyone and say, hey, you know, NFC North, we're here too. It's not just about Green Bay and Minnesota. This would be a really, really big statement game for them. It's in Minnesota, so it would also be really huge to get a road divisional win for them.
I took a FanDuel bet last year that every team in the NFL would score a touchdown. And the last team that did it for me was the Lions with 30 seconds to go against the Vikings. I just don't think we're going to have that problem this week. That really should be an exciting game. Yeah, that should be very good. And Pete, you have a nice selection too. I like your pick a lot.
Yeah, I think I'm more with this game with the Packers versus Buccaneers. I'm more interested in seeing the quarterbacks. Find out, are these guys toast? I mean, are they too old? Are they done? Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers haven't really played like themselves so far. It's only been 2 weeks. And usually these guys play a lot better when they're pissed off. although Brady's 2-0, he's not happy with his performance so far. Rodgers always plays with a chip on his shoulder. They took his best wide receiver away, and he wants to prove to everybody he doesn't need them. They're both Hall of Famers, and they're going to go head to head. They don't play. I don't know the last time they played each other, so it's going to be interesting to see these two guys, two future Hall of Famers, go head to head.
Well, they met. The last big one was in the playoffs, which Brady won, and then the Bucs won the Super Bowl after that. So they don't get to schedule much. We cannot wait to see the two greats come together again, and we will have our parting shots on the overtime segment. It's overtime on Why Eagles, Why, our parting thoughts. Bill, you have a sobering one we should keep in mind.
Yes, I am confident that the Eagles will win this week by the score of 28-10. But before we get too excited, there's a couple of things to note. The Eagles are not perfect yet. Week 1, they let the Lions back into that game when that game was over early in the fourth quarter. Last week, Monday night against the Vikings, they were penalized 8 times for 60 yards. That can't happen if you're going to make some noise in this league and fight for the NFC crown. So they have to work out some kinks. This is what I call the real preseason of the NFL, where teams are filling each other out. But if they can get the penalties under control, it's the Eagles. Eagles are going to be in this fight.
Well, not that I was ahead of myself, but I guess we'll have to cancel those parade plans, and maybe I'll have to work that Monday. So we'll see what happens about that. Key, the 2 NFC East games. Give us the straight up winners.
I got Philly and Washington because I don't think that this Washington defense is going to be able to stop Philly's offense, and Philly's defense is going to make more plays than Washington's defense outright. I think A.J. Brown's going to have a monster game because that secondary is giving up 100+ yards to every receiver they faced so far. As far as New York and Dallas, I do like Dallas only because I think that the Cowboys D-line with Micah Parsons, our front seven, is a great matchup for that Giants O-line. Giants only scoring 20 points per game, so it should be interesting.
Micah Parsons, indeed, a terrific find. So Key goes Philly and Washington. Pete, your parting thoughts.
Yeah, I got 2 picks here. I like 2 games. I like the Rams at -3.5 against the Cardinals. I think the Rams are way better than that Cardinals team. The Cardinals barely beat a Raiders team that just looks in disarray. And I also like the Chiefs at -6.5 over the Colts. The Colts, again, a team that just looks lost. And the Chiefs, we know who the Chiefs are. They're a good team. I think they're going to beat the Colts by more than a touchdown. So 2 picks, Chiefs -6.5, Rams -3.5.
And my parting thought is that the public so far likes a lot of road favorites this week. So we'll see if it plays out. Key, we've been delighted to have you with us. And Pete and Bill, it is always an immense pleasure. So for Key, for Pete, and for Bill, this is Dave Bontempo saying thanks for joining us on Why Eagles Why. Please remember to hit like and subscribe to be notified about future videos. And we'll be right back at you next week.